of synthetic drugs and their precursors. I'm going to start with some administrative announcements as we get started. First, I want to speak about three different sectors. The first sector being civil society, and we have some exciting engagement opportunities for civil society. On the 1st of February, we are going to have the Global Coalition Civil Society Forum hosted by the Vienna NGO Committee in collaboration with the New York NGO Committee. These will take place through two sessions, one from 9 to 11, the other from 4 to 6 Central European time. And coalition governments are encouraged to attend these sessions and to hear from civil society organizations. The invitations will be sent to all of you shortly to attend that session. Additionally, we are now starting our Global Coalition National Dialogues between governments and civil society organizations. Today, the United States will host the U.S. National Dialogue with civil society organizations that will be hosted by the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. We have shared with civil society background on the coalition and are inviting them to deliver statements, and these will be recorded and posted on the website. If you visit the website this morning, you will notice there is a new section on civil society so that we can start engaging civil society. So the plan that we discussed last month is outlined there. We also invite all of you, colleagues in your governments, to host your own meetings with civil society organizations to discuss the global coalition and the synthetic drug threats. Finally, the Vienna NGO Committee will also collect additional feedback and recommendations from civil society, and will make those available to you through the website over the coming months. So that's the first sector, which is civil society. The next sector I want to introduce is university engagement. ICUDDR is the International Consortium of Universities for Drug Demand Reduction. It was established in 2016 with funding from INL and currently has 422 universities from around the world that participate. This organization will convene universities to reflect on the challenges of synthetic drugs and to provide us with research, policy ideas, and programming recommendations. The discussions will focus on all three working group themes, even though their focus traditionally is demand reduction. And the activities they will pursue are the following. First, they will host regional focus group virtual meetings during the months of February and March in 6 regions: Africa, Asia and the Pacific, Europe, Latin America and the Caribbean, the Middle East, and the US and Canada. The goal will be to develop recommendations and to prepare a report for all of you, for governments. Next, they will conduct 6 regional virtual meetings with universities plus governments during the months of April to June. And this will be to incorporate the views from governments, have a dialogue, and then develop a report again for coalition members. And finally, they will conduct an inventory of university initiatives that can support the Global Coalition's work and document those on our website. That will be in June. The third sector is the private sector. And next month, we will present a plan of engagement to all of you. We will be finalizing it this month and sharing it with our co-chairs, and then we'll be ready to present it at next month's session. Now, I want to provide some additional information about the website. We have a new communication feature that is going to be active soon, which will allow participants to share content similar to LinkedIn, to Facebook, or to YouTube. It will go live in February, but it will require for accounts to be activated from all of the coalition participants. So for you to be able to post on the website, on the coalition website, you will need to have an account that you'll be able to log in and be able to post under your name. In the coming weeks, you're going to receive an email that will invite you to create an account and post content. So please be on the lookout for that email, and please register once you receive the email. We welcome you to share your experiences, news, but most importantly, the recommendations that you and your country can offer for the coalition's work. So it will be an important tool that we will be consulting regularly to be able to construct the recommendations. Here is a screenshot of what it might look like, which has, as you see, a sort of text box that you can post content on, you can add images to, and then you'll have sort of this wall to be able to monitor what others have said and comment on those postings as well. Now, finally, I want to end the administrative announcements today by discussing a new section to our website, which is forthcoming, called the Initiatives Menu, but I want to take this opportunity to showcase some of the work that we've been doing over the past couple of months and where we are going from this point forward, because this is, I think, a very important time in the coalition's work and it's very important for us to be on the same page in terms of where we're going. Between December to January, we invited international organizations to share with us what we are calling initiatives. Those can be programs, they can be actions or policies. We have received now over 120 initiatives from international organizations. And these initiatives we've been reviewing through our team and have been preparing them to post on the coalition website. This will take place during the months of January and February. What do these initiatives look like? Let me just give you a quick picture here. We have the name of the project or the initiative, a brief description, background documentation, any accomplishments that have taken place to date, if it's an existing initiative. In many cases, they're new. Program activities and the steps that will be followed to engage those. Outcomes at the global and national levels. The names of countries that are currently participating, and the point of contact. Should you be interested to add yourself and your country to these initiatives. During the months of February, we'll continue posting. And then between February and March, we will be inviting all of you colleagues to identify the initiatives of interest and to express interest to the international organizations on that menu link, the email addresses that are provided for that individual initiative. During March, many of you will be attending the Commission on Narcotic Drugs in Vienna, so we look forward to opportunities for further engagement and discussion. And then between April and July, we will begin the implementation phase of the coalition initiatives, not concluding them, but just beginning, and these will continue for several years. Now, I want to conclude today by saying that there is a process also for recommendations. We have reviewed all of the topics from the monthly coalition meetings between November to February. We are creating a draft list of recommendations this month, which are being shared with co-chairs during the month of February and posted on the website in draft form. March 6th and 7th, there will be a working group meeting where sub-working group co-chairs will report to coalition co-chairs of the working groups the progress that has been made over the past months, and also presenting these for discussion, these recommendations. And all of you can also comment and weigh in at that time. The recommendations will be posted on the website, and we will continue to welcome further input from all of you through the mechanism that I shared previously, that posting mechanism that will be uploaded to the website. So those were a lot of administrative announcements. Apologize for taking so much time, but I will repeat those at the top of the next hour. And now I would like to turn it over to our co-chairs for today, Henning Root and Andrew Cunningham. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brian, for the introduction and the administrative announcements that I know will be repeated throughout the day. So if the colleagues tuning in have missed anything, they'll be able to jump on that and listen the next time it's announced. So dear colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone where you are. Welcome to the West session of subgroup 1.1 of the Global Coalition to Address Synthetic Drug Threats. My name is Andrew Cunningham, and I'm working at the European Monitoring Centre for Drugs and Drug Addiction down in Lisbon in Europe. As you know, subgroup 1.1 is about the manufacture of synthetic drugs and their precursors. And together with Henning Root from the South African Police Service, I have the pleasure to be co-chairing this session, supported of course by the colleagues from INL and UNODC. So you will often hear people that work on synthetic drugs say that there are no synthetic drugs without precursors. So in this session, we turn our attention to the challenges of precursors and the mechanisms and tools that are available at global, regional, and national level to assist with precursor control. We encourage you to actively listen and to ask questions and express comments after the formal presentations have been delivered. So turning to our agenda then, I'm going to present the first speaker. Without further ado, it's Deborah Maestre, and she is coming from she's a project officer at the OAS, working on supply reduction and the presentation is about control of synthetic drugs and their precursors in OAS member states. And she's going to talk about the CICAD initiatives to address this evolving threat. Deborah, are you with us?
Hello, Andrew. Yes, I will try to share my screen.
Perfect. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Can you see my presentation now?
We can see your presentation. You may want to move it into the presentation mode, and we can see your presentation now. Go ahead, please.
Perfect. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you very much for the introduction. I would also like to thank Brian and his team for inviting us to present CICAD's initiatives to address synthetic drug threats from a supply reduction perspective. So let us now take a look at the topics we'll be covering in today's presentation. First, I will introduce who we are for those that may not be familiar with our role. Next, I will highlight some of the recent synthetic drugs challenges we've been facing in our region. Then I will provide an overview of some of our specific programs, specifically focusing on those equipped to tackle these challenges. And finally, I will guide you through initiatives within these programs that we believe could be useful for the countries participating in the coalition. So the Organization of American States, or OAS, is a regional organization that brings together 34 member states across the Americas. One of the OAS's key pillars is its multidimensional approach to security. Therefore, the Secretariat for Multidimensional Security consists of different departments, including the Inter-American Drug Abuse Control Commission, or CICAD, by its Spanish language acronym. CICAD is organized into two main sections with a total of 5 units. One section focuses on capacity building and technical assistance, while the other specializes in evidence-based drug policy. Today, we will talk about the Supply Reduction Unit. The Supply Reduction Unit's role is to strengthen the capacities of member states to disrupt each stage of the drug supply chain. Although we cover many programmatic areas, I will focus on some activities from 2 specific programs: the Control of Synthetic Drugs and their Precursor Chemicals program, and the Counter-Drug Police Intelligence program. These 2 programmatic areas address the synthetic drug issue in different ways. They tackle similar topics, but from different perspectives. So, what is the situation of synthetic drug manufacturing in the Americas? We know that for decades, the Americas have been known for cocaine production and trafficking. However, now we see a surge in illicit synthetic drug markets, which vary significantly across the region. In North America, for instance, there are well-established markets for methamphetamine and fentanyl, both in terms of use and manufacture. In contrast, the Caribbean, Central and South America focus more on the use of amphetamine-type stimulants, ketamine, and some MPS. However, over the past years, we've seen some concerning developments, such as the dismantling of synthetic drug clandestine laboratories in these subregions, along with seizures of liquid fentanyl diverted from the medical sector. For now, these are isolated cases, primarily for domestic supply, but experiences in other countries suggest that these situations can quickly become more complex. The proliferation of synthetic drugs is further complicated by the lack of unified regulations across America. In the past, we've seen how this situation, specifically with the methamphetamine, has been exploited by criminal groups. They took advantage of countries with outdated laws or control measures and shifted their manufacturing and precursor chemical supply operations to these countries. Now, going back to our work plan, I am going to talk a bit more in depth about the two programs that I mentioned before. The first is our program for the control of synthetic drugs and their precursor chemicals. Within this program, we conduct training activities at both the national and regional levels. In this activity, we focus on promoting interagency collaboration and regional cooperation, as we believe these are key pillars to success against transnational organized crime. We also provide technical assistance on specific topics, which includes customized training sessions, as well as support and guidance to member states. Here, I would like to emphasize that the success of these trainings also relies on synergies with our stakeholders, including our member states and, of course, our international partners. Within this group, we also have the group of experts on chemical substances and pharmaceutical products. This group serves as a dynamic technical forum for international experts to discuss precursor chemical control challenges. And a key part of their work is to develop reference tools and materials for the region. One of the most important tools developed by this group are the model regulations for the control of chemical substances. This document, first created in 1990 and updated 3 times since then, responds to new trends that impact the region. These model regulations are a resource that countries can use for updating the regulatory frameworks on precursor chemical control. Since it is not binding on member states, they have the flexibility to adopt either the entire regulation or just the parts that best suits the requirements and needs. As of 2020, at least 15 countries have reported implemented part or all of the model regulations. The 2019 update of the model regulations noted member states' concern about the final disposal of precursor chemicals. In 2022 and 2023, we worked closely with member states on these concerns. Guatemala and Ecuador, countries that have great best practices in this field, led the effort. And thanks to this, the group of experts was able to create a reference guide for the safe handling and proper final disposal of precursor chemicals. So what it is, this reference guide? It is a technical tool that aims to help countries strengthen their institutional framework in this issue through the implementation of best practices and standardized procedures. I will now talk about the other program, the second one that I mentioned earlier, the Counter-Drug Police Intelligence Program. Although we conduct various trainings under this program, a cornerstone of this initiative is the 2 training facilities that we established, which are central to our efforts in capacity building activities.
Deborah, sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
you please note that you only have 3 minutes left. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. Well, these 2 facilities provide a specialized training and offer national and regional training courses. The first facility is the Regional Counter-Drug Intelligence School of the Americas that was founded in 2000 and is currently based in Bogota, Colombia, and also the Caribbean Counter-Drug Intelligence Training School, or CCITS, which was founded in 2015 and is based in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. Now I would like to briefly present to you some activities within these 2 programs that we believe could be particularly useful for the countries participating in this coalition. As I mentioned before, among our activities, we offer technical assistance on 2 specific topics. The first focuses on precursor chemical control, including how to implement the recommendations of the model regulations. And the second is related to the final disposal of precursor chemicals, emphasizing the implementation of best practices listed in the reference guide. In addition to the technical assistance, we also have the capacity building activities, the training program on the detection and identification of synthetic drugs that is delivered through the CICAD school and is a comprehensive program for synthetic drug capacity building. On the other hand, the SICAD school offers 2 courses, a training program on counteracting illicit drug manufacturing and precursor chemical trafficking, and a training program on counter-drug operational police intelligence. These courses focus on improving capacities for precursor control from an investigative point of view, which includes detecting and preventing trafficking and diversion cases. Well, these are the 2 last initiatives that I would like to present to you. These are highly specialized trainings that are usually delivered in collaboration with stakeholders. First, we have the training course on the analysis of NPS for forensic experts that aims to enhance the capacities of forensic laboratories in analyzing synthetic drugs, particularly NPS in seized material. And the other initiative is the specialized training program to counter trafficking of synthetic drugs and NPS via postal and carrier services. And its goal is to raise awareness about this trafficking method and to identify the main techniques of concealment use. So this brings us to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. And also I welcome any comments, especially insights on whether these challenges that I mentioned are also high concerns in other countries. Over back to you, Andrew and Henning.
Thank you, Deborah. If it's okay for you, we will wait and take the questions after the next speaker. So I would just like to thank you for your presentation and thank you for keeping to the time, well, almost keeping to the time. I'd like to pass the floor now to Henning, my co-chair, who will introduce the next speaker. Over to you, Henning.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Henning Rood. As stated earlier by Andrew, I'm from South Africa, and it's a pleasure for me to welcome everybody back in the new year. And I'm looking forward to a very productive year in terms of the coalition. I listened to what Brian had to say in the administrative announcements, and I'm very excited at all the possibilities that the website is going to give us in terms of the interaction and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that part as well. Thank you very much for that initiative, Brian. Yes, Deborah's mentioned something earlier during a presentation where she said that we are disrupting the trade or the manufacturing of synthetic drugs, and that's exactly what we need to do, is to disrupt, and we need to disrupt more. And by controlling the precursor chemicals and the sale and the movement thereof, I think we are just doing that. And with no further ado, I would like to introduce our next speaker. That is Mr. Antonio Mazitelli. He's the chief at the Precursor Control section at the SINCB. And Antonio will be talking about the international precursor control. So over to you, Antonio.
Thank you. And can you hear me? Yes, I hope. Let me see if I can also go to my presentation.
And Antonio, we can see your presentation. We can see your screen rather, and you may want to show your presentation. Thank you.
I'm opening it. Can you see it?
We can still see your screen, unfortunately, your desktop. So what you may want to do is to make sure that it's maximized and that you see it on your screen.
Probably now you are.
And we can see the presentation. You may want to move it into the presentation mode, please. And now
Yeah.
it is in the presenter mode, but we can see it. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks a lot. And let me first of all say hello to Andrew and Hennings, as well as to thank Brian and the team of the Global Coalition that is running all these extremely rich and interesting exercise, very enriching indeed. As well as say hello to Deborah. ¿Cómo estás, Deborah? And to my colleague Asma, that is just 2 floors higher up in the same building. I will run to this presentation trying to introduce, first of all, the mandate of the Precursor Control section of INCB, and then looking at what is our strategic approach to a continuously evolving topic like the one of illicit drug manufacturing. I would say it's not just precursor control, it's much more illicit drug manufacturing. And in order to present what we do, first of all, we have to refer to the 1988 Convention. The first United Nations conventions on the issue of drugs that doesn't deal with substance, but that rather deal with illicit drug trafficking. It is important to understand what the 88 Convention tried to address, that is not controlling and monitoring the international trade and movement of substances, but is rather prosecuting, stopping and illicit activities, that is illicit drug trafficking and eventually illicit drug manufacturing. And Article 12 of the Convention introduced the so-called Precursor Control System, the Precursor Control System that provide for a system, for a mechanism for monitoring the international movements of certain chemical substances through the scheduling, the supports that INCB and the Precursor Control section provide to member states of the convention in making sure that those chemicals that are internationally monitored are not diverted for illicit drug manufacturing. And third, through paragraph 12, a report on what is happening on the law enforcement side, because certainly diversion do occur, but also illicit drug manufacturing is increasingly evolving. So there are new substances, new method of diversion that occur internationally, but I will also show later on nationally. And finally, Article 12 also provide for INCB to report to the international community about how the system is performing and which are the major trends, what has to be done in order to make sure that illicit drug trafficking and in specific illicit drug manufacturing does not occur. The system is all known as a precursor control system, but Article 13 of the convention already introduces something that maybe we have not been too attentive to. Andrew before was saying that wherever there is a synthetic drug, there are chemical precursors. But it's also true that increasingly, wherever there is synthetic drugs, or I would say wherever there is illicit drugs, there is the use of specialized equipment. There cannot be manufacturing of illicit drugs without the use of chemical precursors, chemical substances, and specialized equipment. So Article 13 introduced also and called member states to have a look at specialized equipment without establishing a system to control specialized equipment, but starting to developing the know-how that might allow checking on the movement of these equipments. And actually, at the international level, we are noticing some trends that are extremely interesting. Labs, illicit labs, are copied from one setting to another. Certain equipment is traded and replicated, increasing equipment that is sourced on illicit market is transformed in order to be fit for the production of illicit drugs. So there is a very rich world to be explored and to be also exploited in the area of illicit drug, in the area of equipment. This is to say that we are increasingly looking, even if our name is a Precursor Control section, to illicit drug manufacturing. Equipment and substances make illicit drug manufacturing. And what we want to find, eventually to disrupt, but why not also to prevent, is the manufacturing. Also because the trend all over the world seems to indicate us that controlling might not be sufficient. All over the world, we are preparing, and we will issue in a couple of weeks, in March, our new report. But the trends that are occurring all over the world in the area of illicit drug manufacturing and precursor movements continue to repeat. Mainly, there is a continued, a repeated discrepancy between the seizures of synthetic drugs that are increasing and the seizure of their precursor, or the substances that are controlled and that are known to be used for their manufacture. What does it mean? It means certainly that new substances, new methodology for manufacturing illicit drugs are occurring. And we are running always after the manufacturing and the creativity of illicit drug manufacture. Secondly, all over the world, there is a resurgence of the seizure of pseudoephedrine preparation, though they are not necessarily labeled as chemical precursor, but rather are final products. And actually, all over the world, beside the diversion that occur at the international, in the international trade, we are also witnessing to an increased diversion occurring through national system and through the use of pharmaceutical or final products that are licitly traded within the market. Finally, there is an increased use of internet. We are not talking of dark internet, particularly when we talk of substances or of equipment, we are talking of clear nets, because sources and the market of those products, being they equipment or chemical products, are not illicit, are rather licit. What are we done, and what is the normal approach? The normal approach is the normative approach that is leading us to schedule substances. So far, there are 33 substances that are subject to international control. But to give you an example, in 2022, 67 countries all over the world reported seizures of substances that are not internationally scheduled. And in the latest 10 years, in the latest 8 years, the international community has added 10 additional substances to the Table 1 and Table 2 of the 88 Convention of the internationally scheduled substances. And moreover, in a couple of weeks, the Commission of Narcotic Drugs will listen to a recommendation by SINCB to include into the list of scheduled substances 18 new substances, 2 used for fentanyl preparation, 7 for MDMA, and 9 for methamphetamine. What is the risk? The risk is that more substances, more creative is the manufacturing, more substances will be added to the list, more difficult will be for member states to address them. So new methodology, new approach are required to the scheduling system. Which are those new approaches? Well, we have done already in the latest 10 years a number of initiatives and have provided member states with the potential solution. I will not go through all of them, but certainly we have identified a number of them. First of all, the national scheduling. National scheduling can be strengthened and can also provide for scheduling of a family of substances, making sure that not only a substance that has been already seized is scheduled, but also all the substances that belong to the same family and can be used. When we talk of scheduling, we are not taking a substance out of the market, but we are only making sure or recommending that the substance is used for legitimate purpose. Or cooperating with the industry. Brian, we are very happy to hear that in the coming weeks, the Global Coalition will look more in deep at cooperation with the industry. We don't talk of the private sector because not necessarily all the industries are private. There might be also public industries that are involved. And this is part of one of our major initiatives. And exchange of information, increasing exchange of information with both the objective of investigating, the objective of disrupting, but also with the objective of preventing that substances reach the illicit drug entrepreneurs. And clearly, as I mentioned before, working and taking advantage of the potential of investigating illicit the markets of essential equipment. Too often we realize that, for instance, when seizures are reported, when labs are intervened, the attention focuses exclusively on the final product. Secondly, it might focus on the precursors. And very, very rarely, it focuses on the equipment that has been seized that often is modified, that often is specialized, and in a given territory, maybe very few operators can provide that equipment or can modify that equipment. So equipment can be really very relevant for investigation. But also cooperating with the industry. We are leading an important initiative that aims at mapping the industry. We realize that when we talk of chemical substances used for illicit manufacturing, we are not talking only of the scheduled substances that the chemical industries handle, but there might be many more substances used by many more industries that might be diverted, particularly within local and national markets. So we are leading an important initiative aimed at helping member states in mapping the industries, in mapping their operators, in strengthening the preventive, proactive cooperation between the industry and the authorities in making more difficult illicit drug manufacturing. And certainly providing and exchanging information. I mentioned before our...
I'm sorry, Antonio, we've got about 2 minutes left.
Yes,
please,
I have
sorry for that. Thank you very much. Thanks, Antonio.
We have PEN is the SINCB Precursor Export Notification System, which allowed member states to exchange information about exports and imports of scheduled substances. But in October 2022, we launched and we offered to member states our pre-export notification online light system for non-scheduled substances. This is very important. more new substances are used for manufacturing, which are not under international control, more attentive have to be member states in knowing what get in and out of their own countries. Since October 22, over 800 notifications have been voluntary offered regarding non-scheduled substances. And finally, information about operation, information about methodology through our PIC, Precursor Incident Communication System. Finally, we work with member states in facilitating law enforcement operation. The access to import and export notification allowed us to support specialized law enforcement operation that member states might run in cooperation through also the use of the other instruments, the investigative instruments of the 88 Convention, undercover operation, follow-up, etc., etc. Those are, we have many more tools. This is just a compendium of what might be of use in dealing with illicit drug manufacturing nowadays. And thanks a lot for your attention.